Evening all. Here we are at last. We all doing well, I hope? So yeah, for some reason my camera wouldn't turn on, and I just wiggled the USB lead and eventually it started working, so don't know what that was all about. Yep, good timing here, Rex. It's always good to arrive about 8:05 because that's when I generally start to get the stream going. I'm nothing if not unpunctual. So, let's have a look at what I've been doing, shall we? So one of the biggest things that we have fixed is the controller that you have plugged in will no longer steal the mouse pointer. I've been trying to fix this bug for, well, like a year, I suppose. And one of the reasons we haven't implemented controller support is because as soon as you plug a controller in, it just completely messes up the menus and hides the mouse pointer and moves it around, and it's taken me ages to figure out what's going on. And it turns out it's actually down to the common UI plugin that's built into Unreal Engine. What it does is, if you have a controller plugged in, it creates like an invisible virtual cursor, and then it moves that to any UI element that's currently in focus. So if you have an actual cursor with a mouse on screen, the virtual cursor makes that hide and then moves the cursor to whatever the in focus UI element is, and if there isn't one, then it just puts it in the center of the screen. And this has been an absolute nightmare for such a long time, so I've completely just disabled the common UI plugin, which has fixed the problem completely. However, the GeForce Now wrapper plugin seems to require the common UI plugin. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's something to do with controller support, but I'll see what that actually does and what it's needed for and whether we can live without it. Obviously we do want to be on GeForce Now, so if it's definitely needed, then I need to go in and then break the common UI plugin to stop it trying to recenter the mouse. Basically it's like a helper function, so like if you're using a controller, then what it's doing is every time you like tab through menus and things, it's making it easier for the controller to then access those menus by moving the pointer to the whatever element you want it to click on. You can do that yourself quite easily by just moving the pointer when there's a controller input, but common UI does it automatically, but it doesn't seem to be able to be turned off. There is actually an option for it in the settings, but even if you turn it off, it still does it. So I think I just need to go in the plugin, break that behavior, and then everything should be back to normal. But still, it means you can now have a controller plugged in and it will not mess up the menus. Yeah, I'm not going to spend time doing controller support now. It is partially working already. I mean, some inputs do work, but I'd need to go through and set all the inputs up and, you know, tie them to actions and make sure that they're all consistent. And I've got an old, it looks like an Xbox controller, but it's like a third-party one, and for some reason it's using raw input rather than like standard Xbox functions. And my HOTAS obviously is raw input as well, so you need to set up like mappings for the raw input on a per device basis. So I probably need one of every HOTAS just to set up compatibility for them. So that's going to be a small nightmare in the future. But yeah, not yet. It's going to take time. Plus Claire won't let me. Yeah. The other thing that I've been working on over the past couple of days, and most of today, to be fair, is this.
Welcome to the Magellan-class scanning and navigation training module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, we will review the correct procedure for identifying targets of interest and then navigating the ship.
Yeah.
To begin,
Yeah. Great. So what it will now do is it will draw a 3D path in the game world, leading you to objectives. Obviously right now I've just got
welcome
it set.
to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center.
Hush.
Right now, this station is before we perform the galactic, the stellar.
Shh. But yeah, so it automatically paths around objects and should lead you to wherever you need to go, all automatically. And you would not believe how like irritating it was to make this little arrow thing traverse a spline mesh, keeping relative scale to the mesh so it's consistently the same size arrow all the way along. That was like more trouble than you'd expect it to be, but I got it working, so we now have a lovely little thingy. So what I need to do is, on the tutorials, I need to, wherever there is a go here, remove all the steps along the way and just replace that with this, which should make it much easier for people to, path their way to where they need to go, and should remove instances of people kind of losing the marker or not seeing it, or any of the other struggles we've had with the pathfinding. It also means when setting up new tutorials, it's going to be much quicker, because rather than having to put markers like everywhere you want the player to go, all I need to do is just put the destination marker in, and then that's it. The spline will handle all the pathing for me, which is nice. So that just generally makes life easier and quicker, which is good. Now this is my test map. This is where I just come and do bridge testing, because this loads instantly, whereas the full ship doesn't load instantly. It just allows me to test things out and then like exit and then test something and exit and test something without having to wait for the loading screen. But yeah, so I was quite pleased with that. It's turned out better than I thought it would. You can see like a join where the two spline meshes join together, but I think for version 2 of this, what I'll do is I'll take the path of the spline. I shall capture points along the spline in multiples of 20, because that's how big the actual mesh is. It's a 20 by 20 square. And as long as each spline point is a multiple of 20 along the spline, then you won't get this little join, because they'll top and tail perfectly. But yeah, that'll do for now. That's another task we don't need to do. Is what a reference? So I'm hoping to be able to put the demo live during PitCon. So I think we're at PitCon in about 2 weeks, week and a half, something like that. Yeah, it should handle stairs. It uses the NPC pathing, so yeah, it should be fine with stairs. But yeah, so hopefully we'll get it done. All I need to do is finish the scanning and nav tutorial and just do a bit more modeling around engineering. That's literally it. We've been bug fixing already over the past week or so, and we've got rid of quite a few of them. Most of the major ones are fixed. I think the remaining bugs are things like some of these target labels aren't visible to the clients, but it's stuff which is relatively easy to fix, and I need to just go through there and do it. Yeah, the Ava picture is a placeholder. That was from yonks ago. Yes, Scotty, you're right. That's another of the issues. They, like, planets, of which there aren't any, yeah, I'm in the Sol system, so they're automatically working. But in an unknown, unscanned system, all the planet labels say unknown. Again, it's one of those things where it's probably an easy fix. I just need to go in there and tweak it. And most of the bugs we have now are just tweaks, which is good. PitCon is a convention run by the Burpit. They're Elite Dangerous streamers, so if you're familiar with their community, they do a really good convention, and Frontier will be there as well, which is nice. This will be the second time we've been, and it's really nice just to hang out with loads of space gamers, hang out with the Frontier devs, and it's a really nice weekend. So we shall be going every time whenever it is on. Okay, so with this now working, the next thing I need to do is actually connect it up properly, so I shall do that now. This was just a quick bodge to make it work, so now I need to tidy it up and actually, implement it properly. We haven't done coding on stream for a long time, actually, so it's nice to do a little bit of code. Get a reference to the timer. Basically spud gun, yeah. Yep, a whole room, and I think there's 2,000 people there this time. I can't remember the exact number, but basically a couple of thousand space nerds all in the same room together, and yeah, it's good. Well, the funny thing is, Anasi, is that I'm going to be doing a talk on our galaxy generation at PitCon, and I'm going to be delivering that talk in front of Frontier developers, so I shall be careful not to say certain things. Like Claire said, I'm not allowed to brag about how many more real stars we have than them. To be fair, Elite's galaxy system is still leagues ahead of ours in lots of ways, so it's not really a fair comparison. Yeah, Elite Dangerous's galaxy, I think, has around about 250,000 real-world stars. It's certainly less than 1 million, and we've got 18 million, so we have significantly more real-world stars than Elite. Like tens of millions more. It does indeed. Yeah, Elite's galaxy is amazing. It's an incredible feat of engineering, and yeah, it does a lot that we can't do. Not least of which real-time planetary landings. Yeah, exactly, PT88. No, it's nice. Last time I was there, I sat down and had a chat with one of the developers there about the galaxy stuff, and how we do the galaxy versus how they do the galaxy. And it was just nice to have two nerds chatting together about galaxy code. I've said it before, I don't consider Frontier or Hello Games or CIG, I don't consider them competitors at all. As far as I'm concerned, they're colleagues. you know, we're colleagues in the space industry, all doing our own thing. And I think, you know, all of us have something different to bring to the table. It's just us, AJ. Right, so what am I doing? Tutorials, that was it. So... So every time we do a tutorial step, I just need to capture what type of step it is, which is here. So like if it's a location step, then we need to trigger the timer. So let me just see what else we're doing in a minute. Probably better to do it here, so so basically the code that draws the spline, we want to make sure that we stop doing this at every step along the way. And I'm wondering actually whether we clear all this at the end rather than the beginning. But we will actually. Actually, no, we won't. So after we've done all the work drawing the spline, we need to find out if we are hiding the target or not. Which we're not capturing as a variable, so let's do that. Should be good enough, so do a branch on that. So if show target is true, we'll do nothing. If it's false, then we will go ahead and destroy all of that so that it gets rid of the spline and all the spline components to get rid of the little line. means we will just trigger that at the beginning there. To be honest, that can drive this as well. So if show target is false, we'll pause it. If it's true, we'll unpause it. Just make sure we're not running code needlessly. And then if we capture the target marker location as well. Drive our path by that. So what we do is we just draw a path from wherever we're stood to the endpoint, and then we do that via the Nav-mesh. So no differently than an NPC finding its path. And that should draw the spine, lay out the path, and it should only be visible when we need it to be. So let's give that a quick whirl a minute. Sorry for Ava nattering on, she's going to be loud.
Welcome to the Magellan class scanning and navigation training module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's... In this module, we will review the correct procedure. To begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed some waypoints on your HUD to help you find your way.
So that's good. So it's pathing to the actual waypoint automatically, which is what we wanted it to do. And as we approach that, it should move the waypoint to the bridge itself, like so. Don't know why it wants me to go around the box. Again, it's automatically updating. So another perhaps good thing about capturing points along the spline and redrawing the spine is we can avoid things like this. So basically where it's doing, it's pathing around there. It's placing a couple of spline points too close together, or even like backwards of one another, you know, and it's causing some garbled spline meshes. But if we resample the spline points at a set separation along the path of the spline, then we can smooth out these edges and make sure that they start and finish in the same place in a multiple of the spline mesh size.
Welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center, where you have command and control over any ship system. Right now we're interested in the sensors, so make your way over to that console and take a seat.
That's interesting. It should have drawn us a path there.
Welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's...
So we've got a path there.
Welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center. Right now we're interested in the sensors. So this station is responsible for scanning space around...
So I imagine that is a result of the options not being ticked properly. So we're using show target marker as our boolean as to whether or not we should draw the path. So where was it? So welcome to the bridge. Show target marker should be false. Right now we're interested in the sensors. Show target marker should be true. Okay, so every time we step forward, then we should be rerunning this code. there any branches there stopping us? Unless it's something in here, maybe. No, that should go straight through. Shouldn't be anything in there stopping it. Just for the avoidance of any potential issues, if we just do that a minute, just to make sure that we are in fact setting those variables. And then we'll plop that there to avoid some line spam. Yeah, let's give that another whirl a sec.
Welcome to the Magellan-class scanning and navigation training module. My name is Ava. In this module, to begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed some waypoints on your HUD to help you find your way.
Okay, so that paths to there, and that paths to there. Interestingly, it's not doing an arrow. Oh, hang on. That one.
To begin, proceed to the ship's bridge.
That's an intermediary step, so we get an arrow.
To begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. Welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center. Wait, right now we're interested in the... Welcome to the bridge.
So show target marker. Okay. Hey Celtic, yeah, we're just doing finishing touches now. It's all about just polishing off what's here, ready for the update. Yeah, the training missions are going to be something outside of the main game. We'll implement some kind of secondary way of doing tutorials within the game itself, probably via one of the tablets. Because eventually we want the tutorial missions to be an actual campaign, you know, starting off with like an academy mission before you get onto a ship. Okay, so that's controlling the little yellow highlighter that you click on, which is why we're turning collision on and off for that. The rest of this stuff is just dialogue, text, etc. Okay, let's do a print on that a minute. just see whether it is actually setting that variable properly. It might also be something to do with the logic up here. So when we unpause the timer, there's going to be nothing in that array because we would already have emptied the array over here. Wondering whether we skip that if it's an empty array. So length, it's basically empty. Is there an is empty? Yes, there is. That's even easier. Right, so if the array is not empty, we will go and do all the clearing stuff. If it is empty, we'll skip that and just go straight to there. Sorry, this is going to be a bit messy looking until it's all the logic's figured out. Just make sure it's not abandoning this because we haven't got any spline meshes.
Welcome to the Magellan class. In this module, we will, to begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed some waypoints on your HUD to help you find your way.
And then true, and
welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center, where you have command and control over. Right now, we're interested. This station is before we the You'll what? Now head over to the helm console and take a seat. Let's begin by taking a quick look.
Okay, so even though we're reporting the correct value here, it's still not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Is that because of what we're doing here, I wonder? And if so, shall we do it down here instead? So if we're not showing the target, we're going to pause the timer and empty the spline of all its contents, rather than doing it at the end here, which means that one should just double check there that we're not trying to do something there if that's empty anyway. Let's give that a whirl a minute. It's a logic fail here somewhere.
Welcome to the Magellan class scanning and navigation training. In this mod, to begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have played.
Okay, and
welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center, where you have command and control over any ships. Right now, we're interested in the sensors, so make your way over to that console and take a seat.
Okay, so are we not unpausing the timer? Is that what's happening? To be honest, Ani Nani, that's not altogether a bad shout, because yes, if it cannot path to its destination, then it will just give up, which isn't very helpful, but that is what it does. So if the location is within this area, it will probably not try and path to it. So is there an acceptance radius on that, out of interest? Nope.
Welcome to the Magellan-class scanning and navigation training module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, to begin... Welcome to the bridge. Right now we're interested in the sensors, so make your way over to that console and take a seat. This station is responsible for scanning space around the ship.
I bet that's what it is, you know. I bet the actual target's in an invalid location. Right, yeah, because the other thing that we need to do is we need to do a check there as well. So if you only want to proceed with any of this if show target is true. Otherwise it's going to draw it as soon as the game starts, which we don't want. See, there is no acceptance radius on this, which... This might do it. So we do a path start there, and rather than the target marker location, we'll actually just stick that in. Does it have to be an actor? Can it not be a component? Ugh. About the arrow, can we use that? Nope. Okay, so you can't path to a component, but if we had a separate actor, we could move it around, but it's probably not the ideal approach. Unless... No. No, I was just thinking we could spawn an actor in the location that we want to path to, and that means we can then use our tether distance. I'm assuming tether distance means like acceptance radius. But it's probably a cleaner solution just to put the marker somewhere where we can actually get to it. So if we move the marker, so that one, right, so next steps. So it's putting that there. So we move that to there instead. Like there even. And then grab the location. I need to recreate one of the helper functions I wrote myself for this. So when you are moving around the highlighter and the target marker, I had a button which updated the data table, but that relied on a third-party plugin for being able to update data tables. And sadly, that plugin was no longer continued. So I need to come up with a different solution to that. Which for now just means copy pasting it in. So X. Hang on a minute, that didn't update itself, did it? Oh no, moved it back. Oh no, it didn't. What? What's going on there? Oh, because the arrow, of course. So I moved the arrow instead of the target marker, which is why I got confused. Height can stay the same. Right, so if we just save that a minute, see whether we can path to it. Oh, and I'll also cut out that. So if we make this dialogue instead of location, maybe, or no, we'll move it instead. So if we make that one the bridge, because we don't need like an intermediary step anymore, which means we don't need that step, so that can go. So proceed to the ship's bridge. We don't need the arrow. Right, let's give that a whirl a sec.
Welcome to the Magellan-class scanning and navigation training module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, to begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed some waypoints on your HUD to help you find your way.
Okay, so we just go straight to the bridge. So I'll do the same thing for the engineering tutorial as well. So rather than having like separate individual steps, we'll just get the one step. Just notice that that's not doing what it was supposed to be doing there. Why is that scaling wrongly? How odd. Okay.
Welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's nerve center. Right now we're interested in the sensors, so make your way over to... This station is responsible for scanning space around the ship. And before the galactic, the star system, the central panel, go ahead. You'll know once. Now head over to the helm console and take a seat. From here, we will...
Right, it's the same problem then. Right, so step 150. So reset that back to there. Okay. Then we just need to move the target marker to somewhere we can get to it, like there. I shall research what the actual acceptance radius is on that pathing thing. And obviously that's too far, but I doubt it's 0. Yeah, definitely AJ. The problem on Inani is that it has to actually draw the spline. So what it does is it takes the path and you actually output path points. And if you do random point in navigable radius, then you don't get the path points. Although I suppose you could potentially, you probably could get the closest navigable point to the marker, maybe. Yeah, I suppose you could do that. Oh, you're putting me on the spot, Sofer. Claire's always taking the mickey out of me because I say Sofer. But it's my Somerset upbringing. I likes my sofa, I do. Yeah, I think this will work though, because what we can do is if we literally get a random spot around that point, so what we're doing is we're driving the path endpoint by picking something, say 50 centimeters from wherever we put the marker. That might actually solve the problem. Let's see whether it does or not.
Welcome to the Magellan-class scanning and navigation training. In this module, we will to begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. Welcome to the bridge. This is the ship's... Right now we're interested in the sensors, so make your way over to that console and take a seat.
Perhaps it only needs to do that once. Because you can actually see it doing its thing now, so it's constantly picking random locations within the navigable radius.
This station... The range control... The Go... You'll... Once... Now head over to the helm console and take a seat. From here, we will navigate the ship to your chosen target.
Yeah, so you can see it's struggling. So yeah, it's not consistently hitting a valid location. So, plus it's flicking around all over the place. So what we'll do is we'll move that later on in the stack. So if we make it a meter, actually, no, we'll keep that, pop that in there. And then what we'll do, what's the best way of doing this? Yeah, so before we unpause the timer or anything, what we want to be able to do is take that vector, whack it in there, and then we'll set the marker location from our navigable radius check, so that it's not doing it like every 10 milliseconds like it is now. Alright, let's try that again. Yeah, probably.
Welcome to the Magellan class scan. To begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed some
not a bad
waypoints on
shout.
your HUD to help you find your way.
Yeah, so you can see that it's picked a location that's not exactly in line with the marker, but that's not necessarily a terrible thing.
Welcome to the bridge. Right now we're interested in the sensors, so make your way over to that console and take a seat. This station is responsible for scanning space around the ship and highlight before we perform any the Starship go the range the set go ahead. You'll notice once you now head over to the helm console and take a seat. From here, we will navigate the ship to your chosen target. Let's begin by taking a quick look at the various screens available to the helm. The left-hand display is dedicated to navigation.
Okay, well that fixes it, but I think we are better off solving it perhaps a little bit more elegantly than that. I think a meter's too far. So I think we just need to be conscious of where the markers are placed. So like this one here. So let's grab that. And then we'll update the location on here. So that was there. I mean, most of the time the markers are going to be like, you know, in a corridor or in front of a piece of equipment, so they're not going to be like hovering above something which is blocking the nav mesh. The only reason it's an issue here is obviously because the nav mesh won't draw around you know, blocking objects. I could potentially also give it its own agent for the nav mesh, so it generates a nav mesh with much smaller boundaries. Okay, and I assume as we go back down through the stack, it's taking us back to there. So head over to the helm and head back. So that's step 320. So next. Yeah, so same again, we shall plonk the target marker there. And then just grab that location. And 400. Okay, and that's that.
Welcome to the Magellan-class scanning and navigation training module. In this module, to begin, proceed to the ship's bridge. I have placed some waypoints on your HUD to help you find your way. Welcome to the bridge. Right now we're interested in the sensors, so make your way over to that console and take a seat. This station is responsible for scanning space before Now head over to the helm console and take a seat. From here, let's begin by taking a quick look at Okay. Now that we've seen what the ship can do over a relatively... This time we're going to use the long range you'll know this information. Select. Now return to the helm console and take a seat once again. Press the Use Sensor Target button again on the nav. The Milky Way.
Okay. Done and done. Alright, let's try this from the main menu then a sec. It's quite funny, when I first met Claire, in fact the first my mum ever heard of Claire was on a voice chat, so Claire was at the other end of my laptop, and after I ended the call, the first thing my mum said was, "Ooh, isn't she Bristolian?" And yeah, Claire hated that. She's all like, "Alright my lover, how you doing?" Albis. She is though. Right, my lover, Gert Biggin. I'm not really very familiar with the Bath accent, to be honest. It's Gert Lush, isn't it? I am, of course, completely posh and perfectly well spoken.
Welcome to the Magellan-class cold start training module. In this module, the ship is... To begin, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the lower floor of the reactor room.
It's nowhere near. Yeah, interesting. It's trying to take me around there.
As you can see, the reactor is offline, and none of follow the waypoints on your HUD to the startup distributor.
I'm guessing there's no nav-mesh down here.
As its name suggests, the startup distributor routes energy from the start capacitors to the engine.
Let's sort that out. Yes, Jason, that's one of the things on the list. So pathing. Okay. Definitely missing some pathing there. Okay, so A deck interior walls, A deck frame walls, B deck interior walls. See if I can get away with not doing the framework walls. So we want C deck sheet ideally. So I think what's going to happen otherwise, it's not going to bridge the nav mesh over the gaps. So definitely need that on there. Okay, so C deck interior walls, D deck sheet, D deck interior walls. D deck also needs framework walls because there's a lot of stuff missing. Yeah, we've got next to no nav mesh down there, and yeah, none on the stairs there. So let's just build paths a minute. I never know whether that's just a really thin bit or whether it's not actually getting through there. Where's our nav city thing? if we're hitting a max slope thing there. So if we make that maybe 40, I think it's 60 actually. Maybe. Really, is it not letting me go that small? Right. I might need to do something on the stairs here because I have a feeling that the NPCs are going to struggle with that. And I assume equally here, although they do seem to have figured that one out. Weird. Okay. Right then, so we want to make sure we've got cold and dark selected. Skip to step 1. So step 30, follow the waypoints. So what we need to do is we need to move step 30 to 35. Right, okay, so let's get rid of that one a minute. Grab that one. Step 35, if we grab the coordinates from that one, move them to that one. Okay, and then we'll get rid of these ones then, so don't need that one, that one, that one, that one, or that one. Let's give that a try a minute. Multiplayer, do we? That one. Probably an assay, yeah. Anything can fall off the ship if it tries hard enough.
Welcome to the Magellan-class Cold Start training module. In this module, we will review... The ship is currently in a cold and dark state. To begin, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the lower floor of the reactor room.
Okay, so can the path take us all the way there? That's the question.
As you can see, the reactor is offline. Our first task, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the startup distributor.
So it's basically picking the nearest location it can because there's no nav mesh over this bit.
As its name suggests, the startup distributor routes energy from the start capacitors. You'll notice... Let's start with the G-deck breakers.
Okay, well, that's good though. It's all working. Just need to sort out the nav-mesh on those stairs. So it's worth testing, to be honest, whether or not the NPCs are even getting down there. No, not that one. Maybe Oninoni, but it does have a radius of only 50 centimeters, so it shouldn't find anything that high. We had a similar issue with the NPCs actually, because once upon a time, before we removed it, the NPCs could go and repair things that were broken on the ship. So every light on the ship basically has one of these points of interest associated with it. So what we were doing is we're pathing the NPC to the point of interest, and upon successful arrival, it will then perform the repair or whatever else it needs to do. But what it was doing is it was repairing the light from, say, up here. So if that's where the light was located, it would stand on the deck above, fixing the light on the deck below. And you might actually have a similar issue happening here. We shall see. Yeah, that's not a bad shout, Oninoni. Yeah, I guess we could do, because if if that array is empty, then we can pick a random point. Otherwise, otherwise stick to that location. Yeah, it's doable. Out of interest though, let's just look at the nav mesh for this one. Collision mesh rather, not the nav mesh. So I'm assuming it's using nanite collisions, and I'm assuming they are trash, because they often are. Although, to be fair, that looks fairly decent. See you, Zockbox. Have a good one. We had a few comments from people who have, difficulty seeing and that sort of thing, and they were saying that the arrow markers were difficult to kind of make out, what way they were facing, etc. And it's also like a time thing. So in order for me to make a tutorial in the future, I need to lay out the breadcrumb trail manually, one step at a time. But with this system, I just tell it where the endpoint is, and then the spline takes care of drawing the path. It's just a slicker approach, or at least it should be if it's working properly. see if we can fix those stairs. Build paths, ignore the other levels. Yeah, it's really not a fan. Okay. Well, why don't we then? So I'm assuming these are all components. Yeah, good. So what we can do here is similar to what we did for the other stairs that I did. If we just do this, let's do it on the component, be easier. Lost the camera. So there's our collision mesh. Yeah, definitely. That is one of the other things. People go off wandering, and it doesn't matter where they wander off to. They're never going to be like away from the path, taking them back again. Just extracting all of these a minute. Actually, there might be a better way of doing this. If I grab all the stairs, and then we copy these up here, exactly 250, and then we make group, and then we grab all that, we explode it all, and then we we can just grab each one of these individually. Taking care not to select any of the underlying geometry. Okay. Make that into a group, copy it, delete the group with all the stuff in it. Delete that from there. Get rid of these couple of extra ones I did. Pop that one back. Move it down to 150, and there we have our collision mesh. We need to do a similar thing for that one. Hey Jim. Of course, the other thing I have to do is make sure we've got collisions for all the rest of it as well, just to be a pain. What I'll do with that is if we so if we explode that, remake it into another group. And then we can delete the steps because we already have them in the collision mesh. Then we can just explode everything basically. So explode all that, explode all that. Don't know what that hidden stuff is. Hang on. Right, I think that's all of that. Don't know what the hidden geometry was that it was moaning about, but that's everything in there. Let's get rid of them guides a minute, they keep getting in the way. So we take a copy of that, paste it on there. Okay, and there's our collision mesh for that. Obviously at some point I need to like properly simplify it and make it much lower poly, but for now it can just hug the contours of the existing mesh. Right, and then we just need to export that out. So that is F-deck, gantry stairs, collisions. Oh, that's weird. Did I already do that? Surely not. Oh yeah, I did kinda. That's interesting because that should be decent geometry. We don't have nanite on it. Nah, that's all good. Bigger question is, why is it not there? See, normally I'd put collisions on a separate layer. Yeah, I did there. Right. Are you a component? Yes, you are. That makes my life easier. Trying to work out why it's also got the base geometry as part of the collision mesh. That's... Why are they on there? Right, so there's the stairs, which are slightly off. Oh, I see why. Yeah, so that's an old collision mesh, back before we extended the stairs down, so that's no longer valid for the stairs that we do have, which is interesting. Right, so if we then export this one, if the camera will let me. I think what's happened is obviously we've rebuilt the stairs, but we haven't updated the collision mesh underneath, which would explain some of the issues perhaps. More like it. Again, this does need like sorting out, so it's not as high poly, but we'll live with it for now. So that means that one is now using that one. Right, let's just try that again then. So I've mentioned this a couple of times on stream, but one of the issues we have with custom collision meshes on Nanite is that it doesn't actually show you the correct mesh when you look at collisions. So if we go to show, or rather lit, player collisions, what it's actually showing you is the Nanite fallback mesh. So if we get rid of that, because it's not actually needed now. So our Nanite fallback should be relatively trashy looking. Like that. So this is our worst case scenario Nanite mesh. And normally, if you use complex collisions, this becomes your collision mesh. But in the world, that's what it shows. So looking at the collisions on here, it's showing the Nanite fallback mesh for collisions, which is wrong because we're not using that, we're using custom collisions. So it's giving you an incorrect picture of the situation with the collisions. And it doesn't matter if you look at player collisions or just normal collisions, it's telling you the same lie. So it's telling you that that's what the collisions look like, when in fact they do not. Which is annoying when you try to fix collision issues. Okay, let's build those paths again. Still not clearing the stairs. Right, why don't we delete our nav actor, so get rid of that a minute. Okay, and then when we build, it'll basically build a new one. same issue. Oh, good luck, Fristus. Yes, moving can always be stressful, so good luck with that. Okay, so let's make that a component so that we can edit it elsewhere, out of the way of all that other geometry. Yeah, I think the only thing we can perhaps do to try and fix this is give it more collision geometry. So if we give it, like, close that gap, maybe. Whoops, wrong edge. I rather unhelpfully didn't make these components, so let's just pop all these on manually a minute. So hopefully clearing up, or rather removing that gap in the stairs, should enable the nav-mesh to work its way through it. It does seem to struggle when there's like a hole that the nav-mesh can get through. Come on, find the middle. remember what the rotate hotkey is, so I'm going to have to keep clicking the icon. I think SS scale. I think R was rotate, but it's not for some reason. It's rectangle. No. C maybe? No. Oh, Q. There we go. Q. Nice and obvious. Okay, so hopefully making that more solid will fix our issue. So let's see whether it does. It does mean, however, that at least from the front, it will stop you from shooting through the gaps, which is something, there's an ability I wanted to retain, the ability to literally shoot through the stairs, but if we can't, we can't. Okay. All right, what else can we change? Right, so max slope angle, let's set that to 60. We should have a step height in here somewhere. There it is. Right, if we set the max step height up a bit higher. Interesting. Yeah, the gaps and things are a part of the collision mesh. I mean, you can remove them, but then, well, yeah, you can generate the nav mesh and then remove the gaps. Yes, that would work. So I don't think it's necessarily a step height issue because it's not really that tall. It's only, yeah, 21.87 centimeters, which is nothing. It's like half the allowable step height. So the only other thing it could be is perhaps the slope, but it's not that much of a slope. What's that? 60 that way. What about that way? Yeah, nothing practically. That's about 30 degrees. So again, in terms of the walkable slope angle, it's yeah, it's not that bad. Now, the only way I can think of solving that is to join the stairs together, but let's get rid of these a minute. That's part of the step, isn't it? Yeah, so let's get rid of them. But not that step. Right, so I'll hide that. Delete whatever that is. I'm just going to try something a minute just to kind of satisfy my curiosity, because I'm wondering whether it is something with the stair geometry, and making it a slope would fix that. Let's hope Curvy Loft can figure that out. Yes, it can. Well done, Curvy Loft. Right, let's just export this a minute and see. Now it's a slide. See, that bit at the top does look quite steep, to be fair. But let's give it a go. The only other thing I can think of is that perhaps it's ignoring the custom collision mesh. Well, actually, there's one way to prove that, is by walking down it. Well, the stair geometry itself is somewhat irrelevant when you're using custom collisions, because it's that collision mesh that matters in terms of what it's colliding against. The problem with using a slope is, although it makes for a nice smooth experience, the foot IK will collide with the slope. Ooh, NPC. Oh, I thought they were going to go downstairs then. See, right, that tells me it's not using the slope. Interesting. Why is it not using it? Okay. So nanite is disabled. All that's irrelevant. Get rid of that. I just don't want any of that. Oh, that doesn't help. Had some computed collisions on there as well. Right, so that should be our simple collisions. Did that fix it? No. Hey, Delta. We are trying to fix the pathing up and down the stairs in the reactor room. For anyone who has just joined. That's all right. You are forgiven. Okay, so we're still not using that custom collision. What's going on? So that has some weird collisions too, which is unhelpful. So this one's using the nanite fallback collisions. Which is probably what we're finding ourselves bumping down. See, that's just simple collisions, and of course there aren't any because we've just deleted them. So complex collision is simple. Don't think we need that ticked. We've given it a complex collision mesh, which is definitely this one. What I'm going to do is let's do this on my test map so that we can hop in and out quickly and just rule out anything else that might be going on. Stop deleting the lights. Okay, so we want this mesh, So there's the F-deck stairs. Which, for the sake of making my life easier, are set to use the world origin. So there's our stairs, and if we move our lights out the way a bit, just so they're not muddying the waters when it comes to collisions. So right now our nav-mesh looks like this because we deleted all of those. So if we rebuild navigation, now interestingly, it's covering that whole section. So it doesn't mind that mesh at all. Stair angle is 30 degrees. Right, let's see whether we bump up and down them or whether we walk smoothly.
Welcome to the Magellan-class Scanning and Navigation Training module.
Smooth.
My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, we will review the correct procedure for test.
Right. So weird. So on this map, just putting that mesh in is using the correct collisions because we're sliding down smoothly. So the question is, why are we not on the other one? It definitely feels a hell of a lot smoother. Could well be, yeah. Although there's not a lot else there, to be fair. Ah, see, now it works. How very odd. Okay. So what if then we do this? That's interesting because it's making collisions. Why is it making collisions? Okay. I'm wondering whether or not the collisions don't update until you've been out the level and back. Could be one of those turn it off and on again things. But let's go and try out that tutorial and see where it puts the path. Yeah, the gaps and things you see in the green overlay are usually just because of like a low poly representation of the path.
Welcome to the Magellan. In this mod, the ship is current. To begin, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the lower floor of the reactor room.
Aha. Stairs. That's an issue. Need to make sure that's a two-sided mesh. In fact, I'm going to do that before we quit, because what I love about materials is you can edit them whilst the game is running. So you can see it both sides now.
As you can see, the reactor is offline, and none of the ship's systems are powered. Our first task is to provide power to the engineering decks, so let's make our way to the start capacitor's room. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to the startup distributor.
Definitely. Now we know this bit won't work because there's no pathing there. That will work fine. Is it literally taking us all the way around the blockage? If it is, that's amazing. Oh, it tried really hard. That's quite impressive, to be honest, because that's quite a long path that it just had to make then. I do think I need to redistribute the spline points though to make for smoother curves. Yeah, so a lot of the stuff around here, like the lack of a floor piece here, all that's going to be fixed for the demo. The railings here will be finished for the demo. So anywhere where there's a gap will be plugged and made smooth. So here's a question then. I guess the ultimate test. If we go all the way through the tutorial.
And now. And on the first great. Well, the cry startup. These go. We he duty we. Okay. And there we follow. And now. Okay, great. Let's head up. As you can see, this has begun once. Okay. For safety, this means high volt. You'll notice that. Okay. With the the rest of the. Go ahead and connect. Excellent. Head this. Go ahead. Perfect. Follow the...
Okay. So, yeah, so I need to remove all these intermediary steps because they're no longer necessary. Yeah, that's why Claire's put all this stuff everywhere. It's yeah, it's all work in progress, like literally being built before our very eyes. That would be really funny, Ian. Yeah. Yeah, if you hammer the enter key too much, you'll just go, right, fine, do it yourself. Yes, Spencer. So what it does is it basically tries to turn the nav path into a spline, and then obviously populates that spline with a spline mesh. What I need to do is I need to basically sample along that path at set intervals, multiples of 20, because the little mesh is 20 by 20, which means if I then redistribute those spline points in multiples of 20, the start and the end of those meshes will overlap perfectly and you won't see a break in the line. Also, where you have instances where you have like messed up corners, because we're redistributing those spline points, that will just smooth that off nicely. But we'll see if I got time to do that. Centimeters, yeah. Yeah, I expect so as well, yeah. Yeah, because we're redistributing the points, all the corners will be much smoother. And then it's just down to resolution. You know, how many times do you want to sample that spline, you know, along its path? All right then. So that's fixed the pathing there. So we don't need that anymore. I suppose now that we've done that, we may as well go and fix some of them holes. It's funny you should say that, because I mapped out how much farming space you would need to feed a crew of 200, and it's about that much. It's like significantly more than the footprint of the ship. So we can probably save ourselves a bit of time here. If we find the right mesh. Did I not make that a component? Oh, we did, yeah. Oh, I see. What's going on there? Thank you, Firstus. Very much appreciated. I shall get that chocolate over to Claire stat. Welcome back, Fristus. Make sure I'm not deleting anything I need. That's interesting. I've made that piece too wide. It should be there, which would explain why I'm confused over this bit, because that bit shouldn't be there at all. Norman Lovett. Actually, that's the wrong size. It should be 1.5. Yeah, I can save myself a bit of time with this by copying the contours of those bits. See if I can smooth some of that off. There we go. Thank you, past me. What's going on with this one? Oh, I see. See exactly what's going on with this one. The script really doesn't like it if you try generating a corner where it has to overlap another edge. That should fix it. Yeah, seems happier. every time. Definitely something about this end it doesn't like. Oh, and this end it would seem. Right, that should fill the gap we've got right now. Right, so this is ring 1, 4 panels, and then this would be G deck, floor, and mate access. Yeah, that'll do. Hang on, let's try that again without those erroneous bits. Oh, click the log. Hang on. That one. Getting a numb bum. Right then, let's fill this gap. So right now I'm just going to pave over it, but we will cut holes there once we have the cabling and pipes and things in place, because the idea is, you know, we want you to be able to see the routing of everything under the floor. But there's nothing to see yet, so you may as well just floor over it. So ring 1, 4 panels. Have a good one, Spud Gun. So we need to make sure we've got our GDEC snap guide turned on. Drag that across there. And we can change that to the GDEC one. GDEC linked access. That's better. Seems to have made that one too big as well. So I think what I'm going to do with these panels and these floor pieces moving forward is I'm going to have a bit of a step that's part of the panel, and I'll wrap the floor around it just to make sure it's all kind of all bedded in and looking like it belongs. I'm going to have to do something custom here because we've got the additional room for this. I have to do something with the floors here because we've got more segments, or rather not enough segments on that side. May even have to do an unequal number of segments just to make life awkward. Let's check the pathing a minute. So if we build paths now, it should bridge that gap. Huzzah! And it takes us into there as well, even better. Okay. So that's the pathing all fixed for that. Just thinking now we need to remove the steps along the way. So yeah, so that one's the one with the audio. So we need to remove that. Put that one there. One there. That one there. Which means you don't need that one or that one. You don't need an arrow. Don't need an arrow there either. Let's just give that a try a sec. We will change maps again, just to go to the main menu. Yeah, sort of Dark Knight. I'm just fixing bits in engineering that are affecting the tutorial. Good night, CSI. Have a good one.
Welcome to the Magellan-class Cold Start training module. My name is Ava. I'm the UN Space Fleet's AI voice assistant. In this module, we will review the correct procedure for start. The ship is... To begin, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the lower floor of the reactor room.
Okay, so that worked perfectly.
As you can see, the reactor is offline. Our first task is to follow the waypoints on your HUD to the startup distributor. As its name suggests, the startup distributor routes energy from the start capacitors to the engineering. You'll note... Let's go ahead and... And now the F... And finally, the reactor supply. Excellent. Now we can see what we're doing. You can go... The reactor controls should now be online, so let's walk back to the reactor room and take a look. This console displays the reactor's vital on the left, on the right, the first thing. Great. Now that the reactor has power, we can activate the chamber prep. While we wait, exit the reactor room via the door behind you, and follow the waypoints on your HUD to the cryogenic storage room. These storage tanks hold all of the cryogenic fluids that are used to both fuel and cool the...
Actually, something I have noticed with that is we're not doing the labels. So that should say cryo room. Actually, no, it shouldn't. That should. Hey, Zogbox. Oh, I wouldn't be at all surprised there, Ike's. Yes, I agree, IB Geek. I'll change it for the scanning and nav tutorial, but I'll leave it for now on this one because it's going to mean re-recording all the audio, just to be awkward.
Welcome to the Magellan class cold start training module. In this module, we will review the ship is to begin. Follow the waypoints on your HUD to the lower floor of the reactor room.
Yeah, so one of the things that I want to be able to implement at some point is if you try and start the reactor when it's not ready, or you try and do like step 3 before step 2, something bad will happen. It needs to be realistic, and it needs to be something which would generally cause a problem. But yeah, I think like trying to start a fusion reaction when there's not enough chamber pressure, or rather when the chamber pressure is too high, yeah, it should have some kind of visual and audible effect.
As you can see, the reactor is offline. Our first, follow the waypoints on your HUD to the startup distributor. As its name suggests, the startup, and now the F-deck brake. And finally, excellent, now we can see what we're doing. The reactor controls should now be online, so let's walk back to the reactor room and take a look. This console displays the first thing we need to the chamber. While we wait, exit the reactor room via the door behind you and follow the waypoints on your HUD to the cryogenic storage room.
Oh, I noticed that earlier, so it's trying to send me upstairs to get to that location. I'm guessing the point in the navigable radius is up there in the ceiling, so I'll
These storage tanks hold all of the cryogenic fluids.
just lower the label. That should solve that. Something we can do in the future to improve this is we can add maybe a line trace. So shoot a line trace at the ground and try and path to that location rather than pathing to the visible thing that's floating in midair. Just to make it all smoother. Right, if we go back to Magellan class level. I noticed that that framework piece there has some really shoddy normals, so that needs to be fixed. Okay, that's fixed. Oh, that's an interesting side effect. The stairs come through the floor. Okay. I was hoping they'd be contained fully within the floor cavity. So it means at some point I'll have to do a custom version of this where we cut it off at the bottom to stop that from happening. I was actually, when looking at what to do here, I was going to make like a little pit that goes down into, with an actual gap down this side, because obviously it still bolts on in the same place. And that's interesting. That needs re-exporting as well. It's got a geometry bug on there. But yeah, so it's still bolting on to the same bit of metalwork as the one above does. So you kind of need to get a tool down there to do that. So I think what I'll do is I'll have a tool-sized cavity going around the geometry for the stairs, so that the stairs are actually sat in a hole. And then I'll just build up the floor around that. It's all these little things. Well, funny you should say that, Delta. Now that we have that technology available to us, I'm hoping to use it on the wall screens. So what I'd like to be able to do is, at some point in the future, is to be able to select a location on here, and then it will give you a path to the location on the map, so that you can pick your destination and it will send you there. Lore-wise, you have an AR headset on anyway, so we can render things in 3D in the game world, and it still fits within the game's lore because all crew members will have an earpiece over their ear. Well, on this side probably. I want to make it obvious that there's a piece of technology there, but not so obvious that it's really kind of in the way and ugly looking. So just like a little Bluetooth headset with maybe like a little bit of an eyepiece on the end, just to give you an informational overlay. Cryo room corridor, sorry. Yeah, this bit has them. The bit that doesn't have them is the bit on the opposing side. So this bit here, where the starter capacitors are, it will get a floor. I just need to work out what I'm doing in terms of the distribution of the wall. Like, that door is going to have to move. I've got one of those situations here where it needs to be an even number of panels, but using an even number of panels makes the panel on that side too small, makes it quite thin, which means we don't have enough room for the door panel. But I will come up with a solution, even if it needs a custom bit for there maybe. Right, so that all has stuff, that has stuff, that panel there needs doing, that one there needs doing, those railings need doing. We need to put some barrier tape across here. Actually, that's probably something we can do real quick. Let's get rid of some of these other levels. What deck are we on? F. So F deck interior walls. Let's just take a copy of that. We'll just connect those on there, I reckon. Because that's so laggy. That's better. So basically, anything inward of the barrier tape should be polished for the demo, which means that corridor needs floor panels, that cross section needs doing, railings need doing, and the lighting needs adding. Anything on the other side of the barrier tape is not going to be done for the demo. So the barrier tape kind of represents our line in the sand for where we are stopping. Yeah, eventually we're going to have an astrometry mode on the sensors. So the sensor station is more of a science station than just sensors. So you'll have multiple tabs where you can either look at active sensor scans, which is what's there now, or you'll be able to go to the astrometry mode, where you'll be able to pull up historical scans and things you've saved from previous exploration and that sort of thing. We want there to be a lot more to do on the science console. I imagine it's probably going to have an app style interface at some point. So right now, obviously, it starts up, it's the sensors, that's all you get. But it would be nice to have like a home button where you get just like a desktop looking screen with lots of icons for different modes that you can open up. And that gives us scope for expanding on that in the future and adding more and more different things that you can do on those consoles, which should be fun. Probably pushing the limits of what a UMG can do, but that's all part of the fun. So I don't think we need any barrier tape on G-Deck at all. This is still F, isn't it? Yeah, so G-Deck. Yeah, because we've got stairs there. So that should all be fine. Incidentally, on G-Deck, we need to find some way of building some way down into what will be H-Deck. So H-Deck's going to be 2 decks tall, which is all this space here. And this will be where the refinery and everything goes. We'll also have a way down the central shaft from engineering. Why is it drawing a thing over that? I want this to be like a really terrifying Death Star style like pit that you can look over the railing and look down. With a with a central shaft that goes all the way down like that, it would be rude not to. Especially looking down from in here and being able to see all the way down it, I think would be very cool. Very vertigo inducing. Yeah, so all of this space here is going to be the refinery hardware. So there'll be some kind of like shuttle bay style entrance there. We'll probably extend that out a little bit underneath the cargo holds. So where you've got the cargo holds themselves are kind of distended below the bottom of the ship. We'll probably have a docking bay under here, which again sticks out a little bit. And that's where the mining craft, whatever that ends up being, that's where you'll dock it, that's where it will park. and then all the hardware for refining the raw materials will be in this room. And then below that, in this room, this will be where the fuel scoop is at the front of the ship, so that's going to be there somewhere. And there'll be tanks and things in here where we initially store the gases before they get filtered and sent off to their respective storage tanks. So you'll have a lot of plumbing and a lot of pipe work in here, and like these rooms will remain the storage tanks for the reactor, and then you'll have other storage tanks like literally inside the engine pods. So there'll be tanks all through the middle bit here where all the fuel and the coolant is stored for the engines, and the pipe work for that will route all the way through like the maintenance tunnel area. So all of these maintenance tunnels will be completely packed with pipes and cables carrying stuff where it needs to go around the ship, and then they'll terminate down here, which is the source of all that raw material. So still a lot to do in the future. Yeah, we definitely do need a lift in the reactor room, and what I'm tempted to do when we get to that point is where you've got all the main breakers and things off the back here, is remove those from the reactor room and instead move them into the engineering control room, because this is, you know, essentially a huge space. Obviously we need to make like a replica bridge in here as a backup bridge, but at the same time, on a real world naval vessel, all the main breakers and things are actually in the engineering control room. That's generally where you find them. So it would actually make logical sense to move those into the control room, having only the reactor controls in the reactor room, and then that frees up this space for a lift at the back. So we could have an engineering lift that literally goes all the way to the top here and all the way down here as well. So that can ride the neck all the way down, if need be. So yeah, there's scope for lots of different things depending on what we end up doing. I think more sense to put it on the front, to be honest, because that's where that's the orientation of the fin. So where the stairs are here just coincidentally happens to be right above these stairs here. So I'm sure we could do something with that. Maybe have another set of stairs going down there, which join up perfectly. But that's stuff for the future. For now, we need to get all these bits sorted. One thing I did do recently, actually, I don't think I actually imported it in yet. I made a new snapping guide for this bit so we can copy those floor panels over. Have I added it yet? That is the question. Which would be on F-Deck, obviously. No, I didn't. Okay, let's go find that then. So I think it was that one, ring 3 straight. Yeah, that must have been it. Okay, so that's minus 1700. Okay, and then we want to rotate that round to there. And put it on the correct level. And just make a copy of that around there. Right, Right, so we can now copy these over. So F-deck interior walls, pop that there, that there, that there, that there. And that one, pop that one there. Right, so that's that bit done. Again, we're stopping at the barrier tape and shall go no further. And then we need to do the same on this side. Bosh, 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 and bosh. And then the little middle bit. So we need to do one mesh there, two meshes there. I believe there was one on this side as well, was there? Oh yeah, that bit needed cleaning up, that's what it was. Oh yeah, and these also need replacing, so we should be able to do that already actually. Do we have a snap guide here? GDEC snap guide, yes we do. Right, so if we grab that, so that's the mesh. Okay, and then that one. I need to do a little pokey bit for the end, but that's basically that. These should be duplicates of these ones. I might have to make a new one for there, but that should be easy enough. If you're wondering why I'm replacing these, it's because the segment layout is now ever so slightly different to what it was before. Although I am wondering why there's a gap there now. Is it because that's in the wrong place, maybe? Oh no, that's right, which means one of them's wrong. I shall investigate when I re-import the mesh. Yeah, because that one's alright. That one's alright. And oh yeah, so that one's off. So whatever that is, what are you? Oh, you're the aft one. Okay. Yeah, okay, so the aft one just needs moving over a bit, that's all. Not a problem. Right, so yeah, so they need just redoing, so they're like those ones to fit the segment. I mean, that one need doing so that it extends all the way across, and so it fills that gap. And then that one needs doing, and same one, and that one needs doing. Okay. May as well do that one, to be honest. Oh, thank you, Richard. Very much appreciated. Right, so we need to make where is it? Oh yeah, there. That one. So take a copy of that. Make it unique so that we're not messing up the one underneath. Oh, autosave. If we just chop off these bits. Actually, it's probably easier to do it this way. So all we're interested in is the middle bit. So that's the footprint of our floor panel. So just copy that, delete everything else, pop it back in. Okay, so that's our panel footprint. However, yeah, it's there. So we need to bring that in by 2.5. So that it fits. That should take us down there, nice and snug. Right, there's our base layer. Be our top bit, so we can group that one up now, and then this one needs to come in by a further 0.5 to give it a gap around the outside, and then 7 to do the middle bit, and then we need a template to do the bolts in the corners. Now I did make myself a template. I Are you my template? You look like my template. And you're right from the edge, yeah? Okay. So we rotate that to the inside angle, pop that up there. Okay, that's where that goes. And I think we'll chop that bit off just to make life easier. Then there we go. That felt better. Right, so I'm going to try, for the sake of this going quicker, chopping that in half. And we can component this side up. And grab these guys. And explodey. This is where we have to fight SketchUp being weird again. Right, and now I can delete it. I should have retained the face, yep. Same problem here, I expect. Yeah, get rid of that little bit. Okay, now we can delete that. Okay, so now I don't need that bit. Didn't want it to do that. Do not round the end. That's more like it. Should have done the other bits as well. Good, good, good. So if we now flip that, assuming we have no weirdness, we should be able to paste that into there. It should join perfectly, which it did. It doesn't always, but happily it did that time. Great, we've got a nice non-troublesome face in the middle. Just what we like to see. Okay. Why is there a random line there? Let's just grab these here bolts. Okay. Put that on the right layer. I've mentioned it before, but the reason I place them slightly off center is so that all the bolts have a non-symmetrical rotation, because it's not very realistic if like every single bolt's facing the same way. You need a bit of chaos and randomness to make it look more realistic. In the future, when they're actual physically interactable bolts, they'll do that themselves. They'll just randomly sort of pick a rotation when they spawn. So no two bolts should look the same. Yeah. There's a couple of pieces like that which, when we make the next ship, I will make sure we don't have things like that. So, yeah, I'm putting that down to one of the design flaws of the Magellan class, is that in some places you have honking great bits of geometry which are non-realistic. Like, if we were to measure that, that's like, yeah, it's over 5 meters long. And if we assume this to be like a sturdy, solid piece, there's no way that you're getting that up or manipulating it in any way. Oh, hang on, I've messed up here a bit. Of course, I've come in 2.5 centimeters to do that bit, but I've also done it at the ends as well. It should be easy to fix on these bits. Just drag it that way a little bit. Hey CD5, how are you doing? BC5, even. Until it's getting late, starting to lose the ability to communicate coherently. What is going on there? Yeah, this is going to be a bit of an awkward one, this. So that bit's all right there. I think what I'll do is grab that bit like that. It's probably easier just to line up the midpoint there. So 2.5. Yeah, it's left us with an ever so slight gap on that side. Kind of unavoidable though. It's one of those things where unless you know, you'll never notice. Yes, of that I have no doubt. Almost perfect. Yeah, okay, so to do the other side, I basically need to take a copy of this geometry. on that side as well. That's weird. See, that side is spot on. Don't you just hate it when your geometry is 0.034 of a millimeter out of alignment? I mean, are we going to moan about half a millimeter? I mean, I know I'll moan about half a millimeter, but I think we can live with it. Yeah, scrap it and start again. See, this is how it should be. Z fighting means you've got it right. Right, let's fix that little boo-boo. Right, those guys can go away now, otherwise they'll confuse me. Right, where's the middle? So that one and that one can get grouped up. That should already be a component. Okay. Just reset its origin point. Boom. And then the same here. Just set the origin point. Okay, make sure that they're still aligned. Yes and yes, which means we can now export that. Oh, hang on, what ring are we on? 1, 2, 3. Ring 3 floor, so that's ring 3 F deck floor X. hang on, what? Second goof. I've got the wrong color. Thought it looked weird. Okay, that's more like it. Okay. I think what I'll do with any of these big like cross-section pieces, I'll definitely use these for labels. So I maybe put a raised bit in the middle there, the same texture as this, so it's plain, and then we'll do what we have done on this one. So here I'm just using a what's it text render, but on the other ones I'll actually like build a proper thing for it to go on, so it looks like it's a little bit more a part of the floor. Right, so make sure we're on the right level. So we've got F-deck interior walls. Pop that across there, and magically turn this into the other mesh. Ring 3 F-deck X. Plop. Just like that. And then we need another one on the other side. Another hole has been filled. Just wondering whether we stick some labels on it. See, this one is so obviously a midway round a quadrant, so it's going to say the same thing on both sides regardless. At least it would do if I was in the right place. Of course, it's a funny angle, isn't it? I was like, why is that not sticking to like a cardinal angle? But it's because it's a weird one. So what is this? This is F-deck port. As we move closer to a finished design, I'll try and include a lot more of this sort of thing around the ship. So there's a lot more in the way of you know, labeling and way markers. I'll try and line that up so it's kind of in line with that bump there. Oops, forgot I was on object and not world rotation, just to make my life more difficult. So this one's going to be starboard. Yeah, it's not a bad shout. It's not confusing, it's tactical. Hang on, why are we rotated on? Okay, that ought to do it. This one wants to be a bit of a pain, so I shall just raise it up slightly. That one looks like it's good. Oh no, that wants to be a pain as well. It's like 1 pixel. That one's alright, that one's alright. Okay. Okay, well, on that note, we're coming up to the 4-hour mark, and I've got a numb bum, and I need a stretch, so I'm going to call it there. Made a bit more progress, filled a few more gaps, sorted out some tutorial stuff. We are 1 step closer to getting that demo build out. So what I have left to do now is literally just like, it's all piddly little bits like this, just going around, just filling in some gaps, putting another floor bit in. It's just lots and lots of little bits. Just finish off rewriting the scanning and nav tutorial. And yeah, and that's it, really. Other than any game-breaking bugs that crop up, that is literally it. Thank you, yes. Yes, it's all coming together. We're nearly there. We're just doing the little bits, just those little tiny niggly things that just keep cropping up. But yeah, we're getting there. You're welcome, guys. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, nearly there. So I shall keep hammering away at it, and then hopefully by Wednesday stream we'll be even closer. I might try and get the scanning and nav tutorial done by Wednesday, actually, because we've done the code part of it for like the wayfinding and stuff. So yeah, it's literally just me writing dialogue now, and that shouldn't take too long. So yeah, that will be my focus between now and Wednesday. Okay, so have a great week ahead, everyone, and I shall see you on Wednesday's stream. Bye for now.